No matter how much money you have, you are subject to death at any moment. And somehow we know that because we see it all around us. But we have this hope that if we can accumulate enough of a barrier between ourselves and death, then we'll be safe, and we aren't.
It seems to me the issue of financial insecurity is something that's consistent, and it seems like it's consistent around the world. But I was watching a documentary the other day, and they were talking about the level of insecurity people have about finances doesn't necessarily mean they don't have much in their bank account, meaning that, somebody might have $400,000 in their bank account and there's still some thread of insecurity about it. And I think that's an interesting line when it comes to finances and money, because it has its own kind of energy, and maybe it also reflects how we operate in life in general. But I actually just wanted to start off with the idea of security. Is that your experience, Gangaji, that you've spoken to so many people that level of insecurity is there all the time?
Well, certainly financial security is tied to our basic survival. I mean, money is just a substitute for a guarantee of survival. And in most of the cultures, not the cultures where they're still living literally hand to mouth, but in cultures where you use some form of trade, what you have to trade means how secure the possibility of your survival is. But we've discovered, of course, in our very affluent society, the Western world, and maybe the United States in particular, is that after a certain point, it doesn't matter. You're still insecure about the reality that finally the world is an insecure place. And that's the reality, that no matter how much money you have, you are subject to death at any moment. And somehow we know that because we see it all around us. But we have this hope that if we can accumulate enough of a barrier between ourselves and death, then we'll be safe, and we aren't. Because there are people who literally have to look every day for food or shelter, which means literally to look every day for means of their survival. And it's only at a certain point when you have enough of that we can even have this conversation. Because to someone who has nothing, of course, having more means everything. But when you've had more for a while, which is true of everyone listening to this program, then you recognize it's never enough. So it's not really about that. It's about some deep-seated fear of dying, fear of the pain of being hungry, fear of the pain of being without shelter, without protection. And it's legitimate fear. It's very deep in our animal natures.
That's a perfect place for me to pick up this first question for you. The question is, I don't have much cause to worry about homelessness, but I have to admit that I have that underlying fear. When I really look at it, it seems crazy. Even so, it is a fear that sits in the background. And the question is there a way to work through it? And you were pretty much addressing that with just facing death, right?
Well, I wouldn't call it working through it, though. I think that it's really a willingness to recognize that fear is part of the animal nature, which is an alert system to the real possibility that we may die. And so if our concern shifts from being, how do I get rid of this fear, or how do I get rid of this anxiety about homelessness or not enough, and actually our concern becomes, what is this? And to not get rid of it, but to actually explore it, to open to it, then quite naturally, effortlessly, you do meet the fear of death, but not meeting it as a way of getting rid of something, because then it just becomes another trade item. I'll trade in this and I'll get some relief from my fear of death. And it doesn't work like that. And we have to grow up enough to recognize it simply doesn't work that way.
I want to shift gears a little bit in the world of money. And I just want to bring in this second question. And it's just a little bit of a different angle on it. The question is, I've always had struggles around money. I constantly feel like I'm just keeping my head above water. But I also see people who seem to accumulate money easily. I try to picture myself experiencing abundance in life, but it's hard to hold that viewpoint consistently. I wonder if what holds me back in that area mostly has to do with my ability to receive. Do you think that some people are just born to make money?
I think we put too much emphasis on money, and that's the problem. Where once the emphasis comes on money, then we are counting how much we have and how much the other person has, and then we're deciding we have less because we aren't such and such, they have more because they are, or that could be reversed. We have more because we do this, and we think this, and we get this, and God loves us. I mean, there's certain people that see if you have a lot of money, that's proof that God loves you and has blessed you, and it's all superstitious thinking. So you don't have to think about that. Don't think about the money. Think about, what is it you want to do? How do you want to spend your life, not how do you want to spend your money? And then you can actually shift the conversation to, what does abundance mean? Is abundance, having the car you want, or having the clothes you want, or having the job you want, or is it having a heart that's filled with abundant love? Love won't save you from death either, but at least you will live a life in abundance. And other than that, to me, really, it's a big mystery. It's all a mystery. Some people do have the Midas touch. Some people do seem destined to live right on the edge of things. But I don't think that we serve anything by overlaying that with the latest theory of what makes some people get more and some people have less.
Is there any validity to you? It sounds like part of her question is, wonder if you just feel like you don't deserve money, so you are constantly going in a loop.
Well, that's, maybe you don't deserve. Who deserves money? I mean, still, that's the question, is about money. Do you deserve love? Many people don't feel they deserve love, and love is the true abundance. So maybe money, in many cases, is simply a substitute for a deeper question, and because it's an issue, an item that's so tied into what we do need for our daily bread, it's easy to deflect from the deeper questions of, what do I have, and what do I have enough of, and what do I have more than I could ever use, and do we deserve that which we have? Well, let's assume we don't. Let's assume it's grace, and grace is beyond any question of merit, of deservability, or it wouldn't be grace.